All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Rocket Chiro Podcast, a business and marketing podcast for chiropractors. My name's Jerry. I'm your host, and we're going to talk about getting more new patients as a chiropractor and just break it down to the starting point for all of that for all chiropractors. And I want to challenge you to really think about this because a lot of chiropractors are making a mistake on the very kind of step one of their online marketing, offline marketing, whatever it is that they're doing, their attempt to get more new patients, reach more people, grow their practice, make more money, help more people. All of that stuff is essentially not even getting started off properly because they're missing this one most important point. So that's what we're going to talk about on this podcast today. And I think it'll be really helpful for you guys. Now, before I get into that, I do want to say if you want help with getting a better website, if you want help with your local SEO, if you would like help with your Google ads, I can help you with all of that stuff. If you go to Rocket Chiro, you can reach out to me there. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. If it's a good fit, we can work together. If it's not a good fit, I will try to find someone who can better help you. If you're just getting started with your practice and you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed and you want some help, or if you've been out for a little while and you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed, check out my Next Step program. It's a really, really great way to get some basic resources and some foundational help to get you started in the right direction. So I talk to chiropractors all the time that are looking for, they want new patients. Like that's sort of the simple thing. And I will say this, that new patients really solves a lot of problems. If you have structural problems and retention issues and everything else, you throw enough new patients into a practice and it sort of solves a lot of those problems. It actually can cover up a lot of problems. And so I don't think that the solution to every single problem is more new patients, because sometimes the business isn't running very well and new patients just sort of covers that up. But I think there are a lot of chiropractors that are only seeing a small number of new patients every single month, and they're sort of asking themselves why. And you'll hear people on podcasts and in Facebook groups and on Instagram or whatever, and talk about how easy it is to get new patients, and they'll talk about like this is such a great time to be a chiropractor because there's so many ways you can get new patients. And all of that is true. And I would actually break down getting new patients into three categories. You can do it online, offline, or you can do it through someone else. So I guess we could call that relationally. And I know that there's a Venn diagram somewhere where those things really overlap, but that sort of breaks down your three categories. And some chiropractors will have in their head, like, well, I want to have a referral practice. It's like, well, I want to have a practice that gets people from Google. I want to have a practice that gets people from social media. And that's totally up to you. I would say to lean into your strengths, lean into your opportunities. If you're really good on social media, lean into that. Like there's a really great opportunity there. If you're not, you're more of an introvert and you're not really great at social media, then maybe look at SEO and lean into that. If you want to have a referral-based practice, look heavily at reviews and look at what are some systems for retention and systems for getting more referrals in your practice and not just letting referrals happen. So depending on which direction you want to go with your practice, obviously will determine which way you go with any of these particular things. But here's the kicker. With all of the marketing that you're doing and all the new patients you're trying to get, it all starts the same way. And that is people being introduced to your practice, getting to know new people. And if you are not constantly meeting new people, and I don't mean you specifically, like you don't have to, I always say kiss hands and shake babies, but it's shake hands and kiss babies, whatever. You don't have to go out and meet people face to face in kind of an old school way necessarily. But what should be happening in every single chiropractic practice, whether that's online, whether it's offline, or whether it's through other people, through relationships, there should be people that are getting introduced to your practice this month who didn't know about you last month. And you will hear me say this all the time, but I wanted to do a podcast where I just talk about that point and that point alone. Because if you're creating a bunch of content, but that content is not reaching new people, you're really missing the starting point for your marketing. If you're doing a lot of like search engine optimization and edits to your website and things of that nature, but that is not reaching more new people through that avenue, you're missing the starting point for that. because this is something I go through all the time when I do when I do practice assessments. And if you'd like me to look at your website and SEO, give you some tips, I go through, like, these are pretty detailed. Like I typically spend 10 to 20 minutes per person that asks me to do this, and I don't charge for it. And so if you want me to look at your website and SEO and give you some recommendations, I'd be happy to do that. You get that at rocketchiro.com. It's a free assessment. But when I do the free assessment, every single free assessment, I will say the 2 questions I'm trying to answer is this chiropractor being found? And what do people find once they get there? If nobody's finding you, it doesn't matter how amazing you are at adjusting, and it doesn't matter how amazing your reviews are, and it doesn't matter how awesome your website is. And I'm not saying that those 2 things exist in a vacuum, like they don't. I understand that they're both important. But if you're the most amazing chiropractor in the world and nobody knows that you exist and nobody knows what you do, nobody understands the value that you offer, it doesn't really matter. And the starting point for all of that is just the awareness that you exist. And if I could flip a switch and make every single person in your town within driving distance of your practice know they just knew you existed. They knew you were a chiropractor in town and that you helped people with whatever. We could just keep it simple. Back pain, neck pain, headaches. If that's it, everybody was aware of you, it would probably solve your new patient problem, because what has happened at that point, at that awareness point, is that you've started the process of potentially turning someone into a new patient. So what I want to encourage you to do, and this is just a very simple concept, but it is so important. If you're struggling to get new patients, I want you to take a very, very hard look at what you're doing. Like, we're just finishing up the first quarter of the year. You could have had like big plans for this year. And then you're now looking at it going, man, this year's not going the way that I thought it was. The question I have for you is, how are you meeting new people? What are you doing that is introducing your practice and the value that you have to offer to people this month who didn't know about you last month? That could be happening organically online because you're just killing it on social media, and maybe that's the way you're doing it. So you're not really, maybe not even thinking about it that much. It could be because you're running ads online, and that's the way that new people are starting to follow you. New people are starting to consume your content. New people are starting to take in what you're doing. It could be because you're doing networking and you're going out in your community and you're shaking babies and kissing hands. You're out there meeting people and meeting other business owners and meeting other people who, other sports related people, if you're a sports chiropractor, or other people that work with moms and kids, if you're a pediatric chiropractor. It could be that. It could be because you're doing some sort of referral thing or some sort of networking thing within your office where your patients are actively going out and telling other people about you, and you're creating opportunities for that. If you're short of new patients, the starting point for all of it is figuring out effective ways to introduce yourself to more new people. Now, I'm not saying that all those new people are going to become patients, because that's silly. And when chiropractors say stuff like that, it's sort of setting expectations in a wrong place. Not everybody in your town is a good fit for your practice. Not everybody is a good fit for what you do, the service you provide, the value that you have to offer. And if you think that that's the case, there's a branding and there's a marketing and there's sort of an identity issue that you're probably struggling with. It's not helping your practice. There's a lot of really principled, like wellness-based chiropractors that hate like the back pain clinic. And I do not at all advocate and believe that chiropractic is only about back pain. Like, I don't think that at all. But I will tell you, the reason the back pain clinic is oftentimes busy is because 80% of people have back pain. They know who they are, and the town knows who they are, and no one's confused. And they're not trying to be everything to everyone. When you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nobody to no one, or very few people. It's sort of backwards. You think like, I'm just going to fish for all the fish. And it's like, you don't catch any fish that way. You need to be specific about who you're fishing for and why. And I'm not saying that you have to only deal with back pain or have to only deal with neck pain or have to only deal with sports injuries, but you should become known for something. And you should be able to communicate that value in a very clear way. I'm sort of getting sidetracked. We're getting off on a sidetrack here, but the starting point for all of that, regardless, the starting point for all of that is new people have to find out about you. So how are you doing that? Are you spending a bunch of time writing blogs that nobody's reading? Are you spending a bunch of time sending out newsletters and trying to communicate with your patients, but there's no sort of call to action? There's no reach out beyond them. You're not challenging them to refer their family and friends. You're not asking them who they know. You're not creating referral opportunities. You're just hoping they're going to get it. Are you constantly posting content online to the same number of people and you're not reaching any new people? No one's sharing your content. You're not running any ads. You're not reaching out. There really are a ton of ways to do marketing as a chiropractor now. There's a bunch of online ways, there's offline ways, there's low cost ways, there's expensive ways, there's things that take time, there's things that take money, there's things that take both. There's relationships that you can leverage. There are a ton of ways to reach new people and to market yourself and get new patients as a chiropractor. But the starting point for all of it is meeting new people. So look at your stuff. Are you really reaching new people? Do more people know about you this month than last month? And if that's the case, you're starting in the right direction. Is that everything? No. Is it the starting point? Yes. And if you miss that, you're going to be exhausted doing a bunch of work, putting a bunch of effort out, and you're missing the starting point. You're working on step 5 or 6 when you're missing step 1. That's not a good way to run a practice. That's not a good way to run a business. That's not a good way to grow your practice and reach more people and help more people. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you'd like help with your website, SEO, or your Google ads, reach out to me through rocketchiro.com. If you would like help getting started with your practice, or you're feeling stuck and you want more tips like this, access to me, and just help kind of getting unstuck, check out my Next Step program. It is absolutely great for chiropractors in that situation. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. See ya.